Hello and welcome to the Budget Digidestined. Today I wanted to go over kind of how to get started in the Digimon card game. And so basically I just want to talk about why I like it, budget options to get into the game, some of the media associated with it, the community, and what I think is just really fun about this game. So the reason why I like this game so much is because one, it's actually pretty easy to get into. It's a pretty simple game, but the strategies can go really deep. But one thing that I love is the resource system. So it's not like Magic the Gathering, where you have to set up lands to tap them and then be able to play your cards. Basically, it's called the memory gauge. And the memory gauge there, it goes from 0 to 10 on each side. And the first person who starts at 0. And then whatever they play, let's say it's a 3-cost card, that means that you are giving your opponent 3 memory. And then when the opponent starts their turn, they get to decide how they want to use that 3 memory. And so it's kind of this really interesting tug of war system that you can play around with different strategies. There are ways to attack your opponent after you've gone over the memory. And I just think it's much more intuitive and I would say easier to understand and learn than Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon. And another thing why I like this game is the nostalgia behind it. Digimon has been one of my favorite media franchises ever since I was really young, and being able to take like my favorite Digimon, let's say Agumon or Agunimon, and be able to build a deck around them and kind of just test things out is just really fun for me. And I just think it's a great experience playing the game. Because it's honestly pretty simple to get into. I mean, that leads into my next point of budget options. So this game is a lot cheaper than than like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon. I have seen in Yu-Gi-Oh! A mid-tier deck that cost around $500, and odds are that deck's probably going to be out of the meta within 3 months or so. With Digimon, we are still using cards from the very first sets, the very first starter decks in our current play. You don't have to renew your cards every year like you do in Magic. And it's just, there are a lot of easy ways to get into the game on the cheap. You can make a pretty viable deck for $50 or less. But some of the exact budget options are: 1, Rookie Rush. Basically, you buy a ton of really cheap cards that are like really low level, and you're putting them out as fast as possible to attack your opponent. It's not the most viable strategy, but it can be pretty fun. I like the visual of just like a ton of these small rookie level Digimon just rushing after a Mega and just destroying it. I just think that's really funny. The thematic idea of it is really funny. You're basically winning by the power of friendship. It's obviously not going to be as strong as a deck that can build up a huge stack and attack you for all your health, but I think it's fun and super cheap to get into. Next are the starter decks. Like any card game, this game has starter decks, and at the beginning, the starter decks I don't think were very competitive or very viable, but they had good cards associated with them. Now, the most recent starter decks are becoming a bit more competitive, and they actually have a lot of cards you can use in top tier decks. And really, they are good. They are a good way to get into the game. You can buy them for anywhere between $10 to $15, and that's a good place to start. Just to get going. Next are what I call tier 2 decks or mid-tier decks, and these are decks that aren't going to be the top competitive play, but they are decent or okay decks to start with because they're cheaper, but they still have some power to compete against other people. And so I think it's such a great game because it is a cheap way to get into it, and it's out of all of the card games, it's definitely one of the cheapest. Next, I want to cover the media associated with this game. So the community and the YouTubers and influencers are all pretty nice, and they're pretty open, and they're so willing to show off what is good in the Digimon card game. For example, one of my favorites to watch is called Card Protagonist. And him and one of his friends, they pretty much take the thematic or meta decks at the time, and they make really high quality videos on how to play these decks and how they clash against each other. And it's basically like if Yu-Gi-Oh! It's basically like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, but with Digimon cards, and it's so cool. They're funny, high production value. It's really fun to watch. Next is Mario's Gaming World. Now, I'll be honest, Mario is not always the most positive person when it comes to the game and the things surrounding it, but he does have a good idea of the viable decks. He has this thing every week called Market Watch, where he goes over like the prices of certain cards and maybe when you should buy cards if they're going to be popular. And he has a pretty good feel for this game in general, and so being able to watch him is entertaining but also very informative. The last person I want to focus on for this section is True Champion Steven. He is an extremely positive influencer within the Digimon space, and he goes over tier lists of Digimon, what is meta or what's going to be good in the coming set. And he's very nice and positive, and seems like he really wants to help out the community. I've just really enjoyed watching him, and I think he's definitely worth watching. Next is the community itself. There are Discord servers, there are locals that you can play at your local game stores, and there are different groups on Facebook, Instagram, Discord that you can go on and get a lot of advice, get a lot of help, and also just play the game. I would say about 85 to 90% of the people that I've played against are very nice. They're very helpful, and they want you to enjoy the game. They want you to play the game. Of course, there's going to be salty people who, play either really annoying decks, or if they lose, they'll just jump right off. You're going to find that no matter where you go. But for the most part, with my experience of almost a year of playing this game, I have truly enjoyed the people that I've met. And even like some of these influencers that I've talked about, I've met them and they're really nice people. They're willing to talk and they're willing to respond, and it's overall just a pretty good community. I feel very welcome, and I'm really excited to dive deeper and go to more tournaments and meet more people, and it's really fun. And the last part is the fun. I love being able to take my favorite Digimon and build a deck around them. And even though I admit might not win, it's still really fun to take this thing that I've really enjoyed growing up and to just play against people. For me, I've always wanted to get into a trading card game, and having the chance to go to big tournaments like Gen Con, and actually do decent because of just playing a deck that I liked is really fun. I think this game is a really, really fun game because of all of these reasons, but ultimately I've had a great time playing with my brothers, playing with friends, and just making friends along the way. So really, the reason why I like Digimon is the friends I made along the way. But overall, I think it's a fun game. I think it's pretty simple to get into, and there are lots of ways to practice and have fun. So thank you so much for watching. I'm definitely going to be coming out with some more videos on how to play the game, budget options, and even making some videos with some people who have won big tournaments in the near future. I'm really excited for that, and I hope you stick around for it. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that really good stuff, because I'm going to have some really fantastic content coming in the future. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.